Hey everybody, I am back. So now I'm gonna do a little Photoshop demo, but I thought I would pull up a few images real quick. So the idea from this project actually came from this American Express. You can see the logo down here, Tina Fey ad, and I just thought it was kind of interesting. And one of our questions over here that I like is. It's not gonna let me scan over, but her most unusual gift was a bat skeleton. So I think, finding questions like that kind of help make it interesting. And then I noticed recently after that, they did a bunch of other people. So here's one with Shaun White. And, even though they didn't get him like in a location where he has the snowboard, they had him kind of do this fun portrait and, it looks like a hotel room. And then there's Beyonce, she's got this fancy setup going, she's all elaborate and fancy car. You got the plane in the background, looks like she's, kind of ready to go be queen. All right, so my environmental is much less impressive. So I think I mentioned in the last video, but not a good example of environmental, a very poor example actually. But with my minor disability, I really can't get out and shoot any new photographs or do a whole lot. So I'm just going to use this for the sake of the demo. The first thing that you really want to do is when you open the picture in Photoshop, just kind of decide where you want to include the background and the text. So do you want to do it on the sides? Do you want to do it on the top or bottom? With this photo, I think it would be best if I did it on one of the sides. So I think I will put it on the right side over here. So I'm just going to see what the size of the image is. So go to image, image size. And I have this very unusual sized photo right now, 9.573. So just to make my life easier and for the sake of math, I'm going to just make that 10. And it's going to, one thing is let me go back to this, cancel out. When I go to image, image size, and when I change it to 10, you want to make sure the constrained proportions is selected, or else it's going to change everything in your photo and change the perspective of it basically. So my resolution's at 300, that looks good. And I'm just going to hit OK. But first I'm going to do a little bit of math actually. So in order to add the background to the sides, I'm not changing the height at all. The height's going to stay at 10, but the width's going to get a little bigger. So I'm just going to say, let's say, doing some math on my fingers. I'm going to make it 10 by 14. So I'm going to open a new document that size. So in this one, I'm just going to hit OK, not changing anything to this one. Then I'm going to go to File, New, and it actually is already set up, crazily enough, in the dimensions I wanted. So 14 by 10, my resolution is 300. I want to keep all that the same. The height and the resolution, you remember, I'm just adding size to the side of it. Click OK. So then it opened my new document. You can see here I have my background, it's white. I'm going to change that later. So going back to my other photo, I'm going to just drag it into my new document. Slide it over. And I just kind of guessed. So I knew that I wanted my photo to be wider than this background area. Because remember, the photo, is the most important part of this project. the words is kind of like the bonus of it, the secondary. So when you squint your eyes and you look at it, I want the portrait to stand out first, and then the writing to kind of come second. Um, so I just guessed on the size of this. This is a little under 6 inches. I could always change that later on. So maybe once I put the picture in here, I decide that's a little bit too much space. I think it's going to be about perfect, so I don't know if I'd want to make it too much smaller. But let's just say I want to make it a little smaller. You could go to the crop. Sorry, let me have a glass of water. A glass of water. A drink of water. I'm going to go to the crop tool. And I could just, shrink my dimensions, maybe a half an inch or so. Hit OK. Or vice versa. Maybe I need to add more to it. Then I could go to, So instead of going to image size, I would actually want to go to canvas size on this one. And if I go to canvas size, it's actually the background piece. So you can see now it's smaller than that 14. I'm going to change it back. Hit OK. And now I'm back at the 14. It kind of slid my picture over, so I'm going to scoot that back. Alright, so now you should be all set up, and really it's deciding what you want to do with this background. Normally I wouldn't like such a stark, bright white, but it's not terrible side by side. I usually stick with the neutral colors, so if you want to change the background, you want to be selected on the background layer over here in the layer menu. And then I'm just going to go to the paintbrush, and the first one that I really try is just kind of the simple neutral colors of just black and white, so we kind of see what the white looks like. If I hit this, now we see what the black looks like. Not sure if I like it that dark with kind of this area here. Another thing that you can do is if you would like to see it with kind of out all the stuff around it, if you hit F on the keyboard and hit it a few times, then you can kind of see it with no background. I'm going to go back to the white and try that. So I hit F once, I'm going to hit it again and again. Then you can kind of see it in kind of scale, and you don't have any of the distractions around it. So then my next choice would be to try like a grayish color and see what that would look like. It's really all about experimenting, and it's going to depend on, what colors are in your image. The gray is not terrible. I'm kind of liking something like that. Maybe like a lighter gray. Or there's always the option of pulling colors from your image. So if you go to your menu over here and you find the eyedropper, and I'm using the most recent Photoshop, but if you are using an older one, I think it's towards the bottom more. And then in your image, and you got to be selected on that layer, and kind of go in and pick out different colors. Let's see what colors I had in my hair. I also put a filter on this image, or some adjustments, so that's why I have these different colors going on in the background. So it's kind of showing up that I have this crazy purple in my hair, which I did not. Yeah. So I don't really like that. I'm gonna go back to the eyedropper. I really think reds and yellows really take away, and I guess your eyes drawn to them. So I wouldn't really want my text in a red or a yellow. I'm not sure if I want to do a green. Oh. And so now that's a good example of a mistake. So I was selected on my image still. So it took this as well as kind of the area around it inside my color. So I don't want that. I'm going to hit Command Z, undo, and go back to the background. And try that again. Not liking the green. Oops. So I would probably go through this for, knowing me, another 15-20 minutes and try out different colors around here and play with a few different things. But I'm just going to leave it at that for right now and kind of move on with for the sake of the demo. Alright, so now I'm going to add the text over here. So I want to go to the type tool. And with this, I think it's easiest if you either A, add a new layer, or continue to start basically a new line each question. The computer's frozen on me, so I'm alright. For one, I'm gonna have to change my colors around. Right now I'm still on this kind of weird light pink color, so I'm gonna just select this little box. Now I have black selected, and I don't really want to add it onto this background layer, so I'm going to actually add a new layer. There's a few ways you can do that. You could either go to this little kind of menu down button, so to speak, and you can go to new layer there. Or you can go to layer, new, and right there. I'm going to add another one. And I'm going to move this on top. Alright, so now in my new layer, I'm going to type name. It's going to be my first question. It's super teeny, so I'm going to select it and change the size. 48 is probably a little too big. I'm just going to put it at 30 right now. Actually, I'm going to go a little bigger for the demo. I'm going to do 36. No, I'm going to do 48, but just because I'm not sure if I want to use this font. So if it's selected and then you go over to the drop-down menu, you can hit the down arrow on your keyboard and you can see all the different fonts, kind of how they're going to look inside the picture. So I kind of want something more scripty like that, and it's not bad. This one wasn't bad, but it's pretty thin, so I might want something a little bolder. I'm constantly downloading fonts. Depending on what I'm working with, I'll pick out fonts for certain. I might go through and pick some for different projects that I'm working on, or if it fits a logo, or something that I'm doing. So I'll show you how to download a font in a few minutes here. Oh. Alright, so I'm okay with that. And actually the 48 isn't too bad with that, so I'm gonna stick with that. I do want to move it over a little bit, so I'm gonna hit the move tool. And drag that right there. I kind of like the handwritten, the idea of kind of adding your own personal touch to it, so I'm going to put a line under it. So I'm going to go back to the type tool, select inside the name, and it's going to give me, depending on the font you use, this one is the dotted line. don't like. So I'm going to see if I can change that. It's better, but it's way down. It's because the fonts were such different sizes, so... Alright, so that works. Another kind of easy trick to do is to so to get like the same line, the same font, instead of going back into it and I could start a new one, add a new line. You know, it already switched out of my font actually, so now I'd have to go back and select it. So I'm gonna not do this. There's a little trick. Can't see my trash can down there, but I just threw that. Toss that. Try to slide it over. Font layer that I created and didn't want anymore. I threw it into the trash. If I duplicate this layer, so I just kind of double clicked on my mouse, but if I go here and I go to duplicate layer, it's going to duplicate the name, and it did it, but it's underneath there. But if I slide it down, I can actually go to the type tool and just edit that. So my next question might be favorite artist. So it's a lot bigger than name, but I think the name's kind of the more important thing on it. So I'm going to make this smaller. And it looks really, really teeny right now, but I'm only zoomed in 16 point something percent. So let me just move this. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. So right now I'm still in 33, 50, oh, one pass. This is 100%, so it's actually a pretty big font we're looking at. So I'm going to go back out. But now my line's a little too long, so I'm going to go in and edit that. I feel like this video is 50 million years long. I have no idea, so I'm going to try to finish up shortly. So now I got my second question. I would just duplicate that layer. And start a new question. And maybe we'll say, oh, Canon or Nikon. Shrink that line. And then as long as you're on the move tool, so the first tool up here, you can, you know, slide these questions around and, you know, if you wanted to do something different with them, as long as you select them on the layer menu over there, you can really, you know, move them around and kind of make it however you like. Another kind of fun thing with the fonts is I'm going to select my name, and then if you, on this panel down here, this FX, if you click on that and go to, let's see, drop shadow, let's say. So on my name up here, you can actually see that it added a little drop shadow. The color of it's black, so if you wanted to, you know, you can, again, I wouldn't do anything too drastic as far as changing that. Usually it's a kind of grayish tone or darker. And you can change the angle that you can see the drop shadow at, so usually you see it a little better from below. The distance, so how far away. The spread's gonna make it wider, thinner. And then the size kind of blurs it out. And somewhere, oh, right here you can also change the opacity, so maybe you just want, something really light on it. So I'm gonna just hit OK. And another little shortcut tip is, so I added it on here, maybe I want to make it the drop shadow on everything. If you click over into the drop shadow, the little eye around here, and you go to copy layer style, and then you can go to this one, select it, never done this in the new Photoshop, oh, paste layer style, and then you get that same drop shadow. So that really kind of helps you make things that are, similar, and it's quick to do. Except I can't find anything. Alright, so that's pretty much the gist of this. I, again, don't want to make this video 50 million years long. Lastly, while I'm thinking of it, with the background, and I'm sure tomorrow I'll think of some more things I could have added. You can add, if you want to add like a vignetting or do something with that, you can add some textures to it. Oh yeah. I cannot remember where vignetting is in the newer Photoshop. I think it's actually easier to find in the older version. So if you're using Photoshop 6, you can find it here. If not, it's still in the filter menu, but instead of going where I went towards the top, let me just do this. Maybe I want to So this is the amount, so if I adjust this over, it's gonna, make it really, really dark, or you can do the opposite, which is very awkward. So let's just do that. So I'm not sure if I really like that or not. I can always undo it. Those are things that I would just kind of go through in my own time and not for the sake of a demonstration for you guys to watch to share, but I wanted to show you how to do it. Another thing is I could add some actions to it if I really wanted to. There's not a whole lot going on, and I don't remember what I added to this photo over here. But remember, to get to your actions, if you're using the older version of Photoshop, you just go to Window, Actions, and that pulls this up. Maybe I have so many that I don't even know what they do. I'm going to try Daydream. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I'm just going to hit OK. So it did a little adjustments. You can see actually, if I move this over and go to the Daydream menu that it pulled up, or the layer, you can see that it did light leaks, it added an inner shadow, it adjusted some layers, it adjusted the vibrance. So that's basically what actions do, and I know I've talked about them before, and I don't know if you guys caught on to where they are, but you can download them from the internet, and I mentioned also textures, and I don't know if I necessarily like that white glow, so I'm going to actually delete all those. I should have just deleted the whole folder, but I did not. Alright, so back to just the vignetting. Let me go to Google. So I typed it up real quick just to make sure I knew where it was. But Photoshop texture backgrounds, free. And then really anything that comes up, it's going to give you a lot of different options. I don't think necessarily a lot of these are going to work for an environmental because, again, you want your picture to be the focal point of it and not the background. So I think a texture would probably take over too much. And of course my internet's going to be very, very slow when I want it to not be. I'm not going to actually download any of these because I don't want you guys to be here for a million years. But, you know, maybe something like a light textured parchment paper or something like lighter like this. But for other things, that the texture backgrounds can be kind of fun. Let me go back and I'm going to go to download free music. It doesn't, you actually don't even have to type in Photoshop, just download free fonts. Tons of websites. The font is usually the go-to one with its cool name. I like this one though because it does kind of categorize things. So with this, I would maybe you're into techno and want to use like a techno font or the person you're photographing. But I'm gonna go to something kind of handwritten, but maybe not. I'm gonna go. Ooh, cookies and milk's kind of fun. I don't want it to look too handwritten because I'm leaving the lines on it, so. Also, I'm just downloading for a demo again, so it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna do lemon yellow sun. And I'm just gonna click download. I need to be one of those people that like play some annoying music in the background and then have to credit them in the description. And you should be able to download these on the school computers too. Definitely in the photo room you can. Where are you? Okay. So I found it in my downloads. I'm gonna go to just double click on this. The .otf is basically the type font, the keyboard. I'm double clicking on it. It's gonna open this font book and install font. And it's pretty similar. I'm on a Mac right now, but a PC is pretty similar as well. So it's adding it into my book of fonts. And I'm just going to go back to Photoshop. And really, after, it should come up pretty quick. Photoshop, that's kind of how it's set up to do. So I am going to, when I just got unplugged, stop the demo here. If you have any questions or I possibly could think of some new things, I will add them, or you can email me or get in touch with me on Google Classroom. Always looking forward to what you guys create, and hopefully I will see you soon.